LES Eagles.
Welcome into the JAKIB Media Halftime Show here on the JAKIB Media Sports Channel. Marc Farzetta along with you with the score 17-7 at Arrowhead in favor of the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Eagles started out extremely well in that first quarter of play, running the football very well. DeAndre Swift getting the bulk of the carries, and then things went by the wayside in that second quarter. Eagles unable to protect Jalen Hurts, who has been sacked 5 times, and Jalen Hurts, unfortunately, has been unable to protect Jalen Hurts, taking those 5 sacks. Few of them, most of them, he had the opportunity to run away from pressure, chose to stay in the pocket, chose to hang in there, unable to find a spot to throw the ball away, unable to find an open receiver downfield. Yes, he does have 1 interception on what looked to be a miscommunication between him and his number 1 target, A.J. Brown. Another little dispute on the sidelines. We'll see how they come out in the second half, again down 10 points. Bringing in now Bill Colarulo, of course, Legal Hands to the Face podcast, as well as the Philly Sports Power Hour, and our co-host Kayla Santiago. John McMullen, our NFL insider, will be joining us from Arrowhead Stadium, and also co-host there of Birds 365. The 5 sacks, 2 things stick out to me the most here, Bill and Kayla. One is 5 sacks taken by Jalen Hurts behind this offensive line and what was supposed to be as close to 100% healthy Jalen Hurts as we have seen maybe since the season started. The other number that jumps out to me is 6 of 8. That's how many conversions the Kansas City Chiefs have been able to convert on third down. Bill, right now, I know you look at the numbers a lot, especially on third down conversions, not going the way that has really trended for the Eagles so far this season.
Well, the Eagles' defense hasn't been very good on third down coming into the game. They were 25th in the league, allowing first downs 43% of the time. And it's even worse tonight. 75% of the time they're giving up first downs on third down. But the Eagles' offense has been good on third down coming in. They're 0 for 3 tonight. They have not been able to extend drives on offense, and it's the passing game. I mean, you said it. Not only the 5 sacks, they've only thrown for 20 passing yards in that first half. They're averaging 1.7 yards a pass. They can't protect Jalen Hurts. And you don't expect your defense to give up 120 yards in the first half when you have the best defense against the run in the NFL. So, look, there's a second half. We talked about it in the beginning of the game. It's going to be about adjustments. Eagles got to do something different in the second half for sure.
Kayla, 121 rushing yards, almost twice what the Eagles have surrendered so far this season on average per game. They're already at 121, the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you need to see from this Eagles defense in that second half?
I mean, adjustments and more pressure right now. We talk about this defensive line, and the best defensive player right now is Milton Williams. If I came into this game and said that he has 5 total tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, and 4 solo, I would have said you're out of your mind, but that's the only guy that's showing up right now. We saw right off the bat Hassan Reddick come in and get that big-time play, and we said, okay, this is going to be a good defensive battle here tonight. And then all of a sudden, they just kind of lost their tracks. Right now, if you're the Eagles, they're not even worrying about Travis Kelce, and that's the most scary thing, I think, after half one. He only has 2 targets at the moment, and the line is just getting beat up for the Philadelphia Eagles. That needs to be adjusted in the second half because the secondary is not where the line is. The line is more experienced. The rotations are there, and if they're not playing a good game, it's going to be a long second half.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. All right, let's head out to Arrowhead Stadium right now and catch up with our NFL insider, John McMullen, right now co-host of Birds 365. John, first half, only a 10-point game at this point. However, left a lot to be desired, especially in the offensive side of things. Offense was really never able to get clicking, especially in that second quarter. What did you see?
Yeah, well, mainly, Mark, they weren't able to extend drives, so they're 0 for 3 on third downs. And, obviously the Eagles came in best third down offense in football, so that stands out. They've only run 7 pass plays, 11 running plays, so they haven't been on the field all that much, and that kind of explains the issues offensively. Now, part of that is, an interception, a turnover. You had a strip sack. Chris Jones, the Eagles are having a really difficult time dealing with Chris Jones up front, so that's been a big problem. And obviously on defense, it's stopping the run. The Chiefs, I think I heard you mention it, 121 at half. That's already a season high, well past the season high. The Eagles have given up on the ground. Isaiah Pacheco, heard him in the Super Bowl. He's hurt him again today. He's running really hard, really physical back. and even Kadarius Toney. Evidently, the only thing he can do is return punts against the Eagles. But Chiefs have played well. That was a brilliant rub routes by Valdez-Scantling that got Travis Kelce loose, and even the first touchdown to Justin Watson. That's because the Eagles double-teamed Travis Kelce, left Watson wide open. So he's still having a big impact, even though the numbers aren't there. But yeah, disappointing first half, obviously, for the Eagles.
John, you mentioned the sacks, and you expected that from the Chiefs. They do get after the quarterback very well. But what we didn't expect was how many yards they've had on the ground. You mentioned the 120 yards rushing. They're averaging 6.1 yards per carry against an Eagles defense that was giving up 3.7 coming in. What are you seeing that the Chiefs are doing that the Eagles just can't stop in the running game?
Well, the Eagles, I think, are struggling a little bit with the Kansas City motion. We all know Andy Reid, how inventive he is. So he tends to get people looking the wrong way at times and maybe not being as gap sound as typical. I think it's some of that. I also think Isaiah Pacheco's, as I said, is running very physically, so he's getting yards after contact. Well, you see Mahomes has got 29 yards for just extending plays. He's done that. Tony's got some touches. Even Clyde Edwards-Helaire had the 112-yard run. So I think a lot of it is struggling with some of that movement on offense for the Chiefs. They're very inventive when it comes to play calling. We've been around Andy Reid enough to understand that part of it.
And, John, this offensive line right now didn't look good 2 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden they're giving up 5 sacks. Do you think it's more about the offensive line, Jalen Hurts' decision-making? Because this isn't going to last if this happens in the second half, especially with Jalen Hurts being a little bit banged up. What are your thoughts?
Well, Kayla, it's some of each, obviously. As I mentioned, Chris Jones, it's just dominating, and sometimes you tip your cap to a really good player on the other side, and that to me is part of it with Chris Jones. The Eagles don't typically like helping, but they should be sliding protection Chris Jones's way when possible, similar to what they did with Aaron Donald earlier in the year. And then if you look at the one blitz from Trent McDuffie, for instance, he's an unblocked player on that particular. That's on the quarterback. So, the strip sack, Jalen was able to get it back. That part is certainly helpful, but that one is on the quarterback. He has to understand. And, if there's one thing the Eagles haven't done well offensively, really dating back to last season when they sort of turned into the best team in the NFL over that time frame. They're not great with blitz beaters, as I like to call them, hot reads, things like that, getting the football out when you have that unblocker, and that's part of the offense that probably needs a little bit of an evolution. I talked about that with Brian Johnson this week, and the Eagles seem fine with it, but you see it occasionally crop up, and you saw it today with McDuffie.
John, I want to go back to that interception from Jalen Hurts. The camera caught him and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith this time. Unlike the previous time where it was just A.J. and Jalen Hurts, this had both the receivers and the quarterback there on the sideline. Again, A.J. Brown looked to be very animated after that interception. He seemed, at least the camera caught it, he seemed to maybe make a change as he was running his route, saying he had a touchdown right there for the taking, and Jalen Hurts, because the blitz was in his face, didn't see it and threw the ball short. Maybe that's where the route was supposed to go. Where did you see as the benefit there with having the all-22 laid out in front of you there at Arrowhead?
Well, it certainly looked like a poor throw from Jalen's perspective. Got to talk to the guys after to see if AJ was trying to do something different. Maybe it's a chemistry thing. He was able to recover. Would have been a great play. Unfortunately, their ankles touched, but he ripped that football right out. It was almost a double turnover. But yeah, it was certainly just on first glance a disappointing throw, but as Nick Sirianni will tell you probably after, got to watch the film, got to see exactly what happened. But it was an uncharacteristic throw, and perhaps you're right. Perhaps it was one of those passes that is more of a feel. And we always talk about the feel between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Something you develop, something AJ and Jalen have developed, but occasionally things like that can go haywire if you're both not on the same page.
John, just real quick with you, the weather conditions have improved as the game went on?
It's still raining, so AccuWeather gets a big F. I don't want to Channel 6. I love you guys, but it was supposed to have stopped by now, but it's still raining. It's supposed to rain now past 10 o'clock, so 10 o'clock here. So
fair enough.
It's going to continue to rain into the second half.
All right, John McMullen, Birds 365, our NFL insider here at the JAKIB Media Sports Channel. John, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, talk to him, of course, on the post-game show as well. So then I'm going to ask you guys what you need to see in this second half, because I'll tell you right now, especially with running the football and the weather being what it is, I even more so need to see the Eagles running the football. I know they're down 10. I know they're trailing going into the second half. It's not panic button time quite yet. You can still do things that make your offense look a lot better, and I think running the football is going to be a big part of that in this second half, and quite frankly, I think it needs to be. So what do you need to see in the second half for the Eagles to come away with the win? Bill?
This is a great opportunity for our coaching staff. We talk about Super Bowl 57. We talk about how the Eagles had the lead going into the second half, and they got out-coached in that second half when Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy made adjustments. Now our coaching staff has a great opportunity down 10 to show us that they are on the same level as the coaches on the other side. Can Sirianni and Sean Desai and Brian Johnson make the appropriate adjustments at the half to come out and win this football game? We're going to find a lot out about our coaching staff here tonight. I don't know what the adjustments are, but they got to change a lot of things, and let's hope they do.
All right, I'm going to start out with one adjustment, not having 5 sacks on the
quarterback. That would be good, right?
Kayla, what do you need to see?
If I could say one thing to Brian Johnson right now, it would be put Boston Scott into the ball game, less of Kenny Gainwell, or maybe all three right now, because you had success with DeAndre Swift in that first quarter. Boston Scott has 1 carry for 4 yards. Kenny Gainwell has 1 carry for 1 yard. Boston Scott, I also think, can go out there and block a little bit better as well. If it's rainy conditions right now, Jalen Hurts is just a little bit uncomfortable. I think that knee is definitely bothering him. If he can't get it out there with conditions, you got to run the ball. And Brian Johnson, I get it. That has not been his go-to. But if you want to win this football game, that has to be what it is. Split those carries up a little bit, because Jalen running the ball right now, it's just not happening. He doesn't seem comfortable out there.
Fair enough. All right, let's hope for that second half turnaround and hope for more optimistic things to talk about in the Eagles post-game show coming up following this one. Until then, Mike Missinelli will be joining us for the post-game show. Derek Gunn will be joining the post-game show for a segment as well, and John McMullen from Arrowhead again. I'm Marc Farzetta along with Bill Colarulo and Kayla Santiago. We'll see you post-game.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Some say courage is something you're born with. Others say courage is something you find. In every generation throughout history, courage has been celebrated, sought after, needed. It holds the potential for a life of impact. But what if courage isn't just something you hope for or stumble upon? What if courage is something that can be shaped at a place that inspires you, where leaders invest in you, your community believes in you, and your life becomes something bigger than it could ever be alone?
EAGLES, Eagles.